Welcome to this week's Movie Math, where former Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell was able to finally fulfill the promise he made to his fellow soldiers who'd paid the ultimate price. Luttrell made it his mission to tell as many people as possible what happened in the mountains of Afghanistan, and now, after a best-selling book, the film adaptation of Lone Survivor in its first weekend of wide release has dominated the U.S. box office. Reports indicate that the middle of the country rallied in support of the film, most notably Texas, to power it to the #1 spot with just under $40 million. That makes it the second highest debut ever for the month of January, and Mark Wahlberg's most successful film since last summer's Ted. His star power certainly seems to have made a difference here, as similar recent war flicks like Act of Valor and even Zero Dark 30 failed to go wide at the same level. With the exception of Broken City, Wahlberg is on a winning streak with 4 #1 debuts. Yes, even Pain and Gain was able to open strong, which puts Transformers 4 in a fantastic position as his next film. Unless the trailer debut during the Super Bowl blows out all of its tires, Michael Bay might have finally found the right movie star at the right time to fight alongside Optimus Prime. Who'd ever guessed it would be Mark Wahlberg? Wahlberg produced the film along with writer-director Peter Berg, who had the initial interest in turning Luttrell's book into a movie. As I reported in my review, Berg had to agree to direct Battleship for Universal in order to get Lone Survivor made. And lo and behold, the flick about real war bested the Hasbro version by over $10 million. Speaking of cartoonish heroes, The Legend of Hercules was the only new movie to hit theaters this weekend. It only debuted at #4 with about $8.5 million. Hercules was said to be part god, yet obviously there's no movie star in Kellen Lutz whatsoever. Dwayne Johnson and Ratner can breathe a sigh of relief that the audience will clearly have no memory of 2014's other Hercules flick before theirs hits in July. But really, the only surprise here is that anyone would spend $70 million before advertising on a Kellen Lutz movie. No, the real headline this weekend, aside from Lone Survivor, was how several Oscar contenders going wide were greeted by mainstream audiences after weeks in the protective and forgiving specialty market. Surprisingly, it was Osage County, which barely even went wide, that fared the best. Yes, while Meryl Streep and Julia Roberts have had trouble turning the heads of awards voters, they clearly can lean on their decades-long resumes and star power. Playing in only 905 theaters, Osage County boasted the second highest per-theater average of the weekend. And it seems lack of star power is what did in Spike Jonze's Her. Expanding to almost 1,000 theaters more than Osage County, the highly praised film failed to even crack the top 10. Joaquin Phoenix hasn't starred in a financially successful film since 2005's Walk the Line, which was arguably Reese Witherspoon's film. In fact, he's never been a box office draw his entire career, spanning almost 30 years. Yet Phoenix rarely works with people with whom that matters, as he generates plenty of the kind of currency they do care about, artistic. Her already has a slew of nominations and wins this award season, and will likely be a serious Oscar contender. And Phoenix is indeed brilliant in the film. But one has to imagine that it's frustrating for even auteurs like Jones that because of a single casting choice, their brilliant film will be seen by less people, right? Isn't the ideal situation to make a great film that's seen by a great number of people? Is that possible? Thus is the catch-22 of art house filmmakers in an overall commercial business, and perhaps hints at why studios are beginning to take over even award season. After all, ratings do matter when it comes to these award shows. As for the rest of the box office, sure enough, most films demonstrated impressive holds with little competition. All except Paranormal Activity: The Marked Ones, which fell about 65% in only its second weekend. But when you make films on the cheap like Jason Blum does, you truly can't afford to roll the dice, because he's still responsible for almost $1.5 billion of box office business off of movies that cost just about $5 million apiece. As for this coming holiday weekend, it looks like the CIA will be no match for local law enforcement, as Ride Along is expected to top the Jack Ryan reboot. And that's the weekend box office. I'm Grace Randolph, and we just did some movie math. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope we'll go beyond the trailer for these other top movies.